Welcome back to the 3994 podcast. Today's episode is one I have been looking forward to for a very long time because my guest is not only someone many of you know and admire, she's also someone I'm proud to call a friend. Over the last 5 years, Kelly Evans, Mama Mystery, has built something honestly incredible. What started during COVID as a creative outlet has now turned into an internationally ranked true crime platform. A Cosmo Top 40 podcast, she has 7.4 million views on TikTok. She's a spot on Podcast Row at CrimeCon, and she's featured in an ID docuseries streaming on Max, Hulu, and Discovery. She also has a book called Wicked Women, and now new projects like The Motherload and The Uncool Collective, all while raising 4 children and navigating the pressures of internet fame. But here's the thing about Kelly. She is not just a TikTok creator. She's a researcher, a storyteller, a citizen journalist. She's a fierce advocate for victims and children. She's a local business owner with her husband, Austin. And honestly, she is one of the most emotionally intelligent people I know. In this episode, we talk about everything: motherhood, friendship, criticism, confidence, mental health, internet fame, politics, protecting kids online, and the very personal experiences that shaped Kelly into the voice so many people connect with today. She also opens up about growing up with a mother struggling with addiction, discovering through DNA testing that she had a different biological father, and what it feels like to live publicly while still trying to protect your peace. Somehow, in the middle of all of that, we still laughed a lot. I think what makes Kelly so relatable is that underneath the platform and the millions of views, she's still incredibly human. She's thoughtful, vulnerable, self-aware, funny, and she's deeply compassionate. And I know that this conversation is going to resonate with so many of you. Before we get started, thank you so much to our sponsors this week: Gina's Cafe and Catering, Greater Than Financial, Scooter's Coffee, Pancakes, Pups and Suds, and our newest sponsor, Woolman's Deluxe Truck Stop. Thank you for supporting local conversations and independent podcasting. All right, here we go. Please welcome my friend, Kelly Evans.
Thank you so much. I love that term, citizen journalist, because I always feel a little bit like what am I trying to say? Like a
Vigilante?
no, like imposter. Like I'm an imposter journalist, but I'm like, what was it again? Citizen journalist. I'm gonna put that on my resume.
You should. Because honestly, I've watched you from afar and I've thought she's really doing everything I learned in journalism school.
Thank
She's
you.
doing it well.
That is so refreshing to hear, because sometimes I wonder, and I would never want to insult somebody who does this for like a living, like professionally, has gone to school. I want to respect that profession. I did go to school, just not for journalism, but I did go to school for English. So I feel like it's kind of in the realm of writing, researching. But I if I could go back, I would totally bridge the gap and do journalism, because this does seem to be my calling.
I appreciate that so much, that you have such a respect for it, because you do. Researching is such a big part of it, and you are a thorough researcher. But first of all, I just want to say we're sitting on the couch today.
Yes.
I haven't done this with anyone Indian style.
Oh, really?
Crisscross.
I love that, because I'm here in my leggings and my sweats, like just comfy. I love this. Yes.
So we're very warming it up today. But really, I want to start off with, we've talked before about how you started the podcast. So a lot of people already know that story.
Mhm.
But what in the world, did you have any idea that this would be so big?
No. Oh my gosh, no. And I started it out of boredom during COVID. That's always been, a lot of people do know that story. I worked as a hairstylist prior to that. I owned a boutique prior to that. Like, I've done a lot of different things, but I've always been kind of like a revolving door. I don't usually stick with one thing for very long. And so I always thought that this would be a temporary gig and that it would just be something to cure my boredom during the pandemic before I could get back to work. And then it kind of grew bigger than I anticipated. So I was trying to balance both, doing hair and the podcast, and then kind of just became too much and I had to choose. And I really enjoy what I do. I enjoy telling stories that I truly believe passionately are very important. And so that's just kind of where I felt pulled. I still do a little bit of hair, but not a whole lot.
You do hair so good too.
Oh, thank you.
The last time that I was at the salon, I was like, I love her hair.
Yeah.
Morgan, next time.
Yeah. She's like, Morgan, do this to me next time.
I
You're so funny.
I'm glad that Morgan is still running the salon, which is so great because obviously she's my hairstylist and a sponsor of this podcast.
Yes. We love Morgan. She's great.
But tell me about how in the world you were doing it. In the last 5 years, you've had 2 additional children.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
You've added being the author of a book, somehow getting this podcast to international recognition, and going to CrimeCon where people are approaching the booth crying because they're so excited to see.
I can't believe that.
This.
So I have a really supportive husband, and I really attribute a lot of my success to him because of so many reasons. One, because he is so supportive. He's such a great cheerleader. He's always telling me to go for what I want to do. And like in the times of doubt, because like, as you know, doing this, there can be a lot of doubt sometimes. And especially if you feel kind of stagnant or you feel like a story that you wrote isn't getting the recognition you feel it deserves. And so you kind of question yourself a lot. And he has really talked me off the ledge so many times and told me to stay consistent and that the answer is consistency. Consistency is key in all facets of life, but especially in like what we do, trying to grow something on social media. It's not easy. And so truly he has helped me so much, and he is a very present father. And so, yes, we have added 2 kids to our now 4, a litter basically. But he is very present with them and very helpful. And my mother-in-law helps out a lot too. So, yeah, it's a village. Yeah. I can attribute it to the village, not me.
Let's talk for a minute about family. You have a very supportive family, but maybe it hasn't always been that way. Is that fair to say? I mean, I know that you had a mom just who was an addict, which we've talked about. I as well had a parent who's an addict, recovering now, but your mom didn't get to that stage. And how was your relationship with her? I'm just kind of curious.
Yes. So I've always been very open about my relationship with my mom. Growing up, she struggled with addiction, and it was during, my middle school and high school into college years. Those are very formative years, a time when a teenage girl really needs her mother. And so it was really hard dealing with those feelings of like, why am I not good enough? Ugh. um,
To fight it, right?
yeah. And like, how can someone who is supposed to love me unconditionally treat me so badly or say things that are so hurtful? And they're so hurtful, right? And so there was a lot of sorry, let me dry it up.
Well, I didn't mean to get so
No, it's okay.
so quickly, but
It's okay.
yeah, let's get you a tissue. But what's crazy about it, right, is that you have been so successful, an advocate for families who have these very complicated situations.
Yes.
And addiction has been a part of that. And so I wanted to ask you about that because it's part of who you are and it's part of why you do what you do. You wouldn't do without having that experience in your life.
That's so true. So there is so much that I learned from it. As hard as it was, and as much as I wanted to change the reality, I knew I couldn't. And so you either succumb to that, or you choose to make your adversity make you a better person. You learn from it. You use what you learn what not to do in some ways, and you learn, how to maximize the good, I guess. And so there are a lot of great memories I have with my mom. I have pictures of her in my house. We openly talk about her. My friends hate it when I make dead mom jokes, but it's like one of the ways that I cope. And my brother and we talk about it. So yes, growing up, I very much struggled with having a relationship with a mom that was strained and painful at a lot of the time. But I do think it taught me how to be a better mother. And so I think I get so emotional because now I have a daughter who is almost 12. She's getting into those same years that I was at when she was at her worst. And so I really want to mindfully be my best for her so I can give her what I didn't get to experience. But that's not to say that all days were bad. I I never want to make it seem like all I ever do is talk crap on my mom. But I think that if she were alive now, she would go back and change some things. I don't think she would be proud of some of the things that she did. And I think deep in her core, she knew better. She just didn't have the right tools, or like just wasn't equipped with the right tools.
I literally in therapy learned that our parents were doing the best that they could with what they had. And that changed something for me. As
Yes.
soon as I realized that and learned that, there was like a switch that went off. But that doesn't change the fact that we're trying to be better parents than our parents were. But it's interesting to see how super grateful it has made you and appreciative of the family and the sweet family that you have. But it's also made you a fierce advocate for those who aren't as fortunate. And we got to add in that mental health aspect
Mhm.
too. So talk to me about those two things.
Yes. So I think it's really important to be vulnerable. And one of the things that I think resonated with people online, and like what really grew my following, if you will, is that I never shied away from sharing the dark and dirty parts. Like I wanted to be real with people, even if it wasn't super flattering. And once you have kids, you realize like it very much humbles you if you let it anyway, if you're self-aware enough to let it. Because I realize now that our parents were doing the best they could, and they were human beings. When we are kids, I feel like we put our parents up on these pedestals and think that, they hang the moon and they can do no wrong and that they're your guiding light. And so whatever they're doing is, what we're supposed to be doing. And so now as an adult, I have human experiences where I get really stressed out or I'm not my finest, and I snap at my kids, or I, raise my voice or slam a door, and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't love that about myself, so I apologize for it. But I realize that, one, apologizing to your kids is so important because it helps them see you as more of a human being and less of this person on a pedestal. But two, that my parents were only human and that they were experiencing life just the same as I am now, and stressors of their own. Especially as I've gotten older, I've realized just how much my mom was probably carrying that she just really couldn't figure out how to carry. I found out after she died, through a 23andMe DNA kit, that I have a different biological father. And I didn't know this until like 2021, height of COVID, height of the podcast, like a height of everything. And so I think she was probably carrying a lot of baggage, and that was just too much for her. But again, when it comes to family, like my dad that raised me is my dad. There is nobody that's going to replace him no matter what any kind of test says. And so my perspective on family is like a mosaic of a lot of very broken and jagged pieces, but it creates something very beautiful. I'm very proud of it. Very, like, very blessed.
Okay. So golly, there's just so many things to talk about. I mean, because I think about your story and I'm like, okay, check. DNA testing,
I know it's a lot. I'm like,
addiction,
do we have time?
right? But all of those things have made you such a good voice and such an advocate for victims. And when you get on and you start talking on the TikTok, you're like, this is the deal, and this is the deal, and this is the deal. And you kind of understand like a complicated family situation, and you're able to explain it to those of us who are listening. And so, why are you so passionate about true crime?
I think I've recently, especially recently, I have found that my niche appears to be protecting children. And I think it surely is rooted in my own childhood. It's rooted in me as a mother having children that I want to fiercely protect. And I have had to fiercely protect my children. And I've been up against people who either want to harm them or like harm me or whatever the case may be. But I've been faced with those difficulties. I know how hard it can be to feel like you're being silenced by either a family or an authority or a court system or whatever it may be, that you feel like you're really up against it. It can be very lonely. It can feel very isolating, and it can feel so unfair. And, I am very passionate right now. There's a case I'm covering out of Las Vegas, and we can talk about it if you want. But I'm very passionate about this one because there is an injustice happening. And I see it. And I see these people in power with money and status that are trying to basically get this whole situation brushed under the rug. And I've seen that so many times that I'm really just tired of it. And I don't care to be PC about it anymore. I think bad behavior needs to be called out. And that's what people want to see. People want to see accountability. People are passionate about justice and they don't want to be silenced anymore, whether it's from media or um these entities, these powerful entities that have a lot of money. I'm just tired of that. Like we gotta stand up against it, like unlike that meme that's like, let's go, like the little I'm talking about, it's like a little stick figure and he's like, charge. That's me.
Yeah, it totally
That's what I
is.
want to be anyway.
Well, and what's crazy about, that story in particular is you're getting on TikTok and you're like, I'm not taking it anymore.
Yeah.
And I have found that in recent years, you really have been that voice, not only nationally on these national stories, but on these local stories.
Mhm.
So talk to me just a little bit about you coming out on behalf of our schools
Mhm.
and really talking about what you feel like the injustices have been and how maybe the response has been to that.
Yeah, so my children are currently in the public school district in St. Joe. And yeah, it's been really messy. And like I don't even know where to start because I feel like I kind of understand both sides. But right now I just feel like our representation on our school board is very lacking. There's been decisions that have been made that I don't think have been made with transparency or honesty. I feel like a lot of citizens can probably attest to this, that I just feel like our voices don't matter, that we can show up to these meetings, we can say what we want to say, but they don't matter because the changes, the choices they make don't reflect what the public is actually saying and fighting for. And so that can feel very disheartening. I also know that there are like laws and regulations and stipulations and all these shuns, and so I understand that too. And I hate that it's so nuanced because at the end of the day, the kids are the ones that suffer from this nuanced crap. And then you have all these adults representing our children that can't get along. And so that's very disheartening too, because there's clearly a division and it doesn't seem like either side is really trying to mend it. So it just feels
Love that you have used your platform in this way, but also you have been very interesting with your platform as far as political stuff too. 'Cause that's, I mean, school boards, local politics, that's one thing, but really you've had to come out and defend your beliefs and really take a hit, if you will, in your comments, and threats against you and standing up and saying, no, I'm not going to be silent anymore. I will not forget that video where you were like, I refuse to be silent anymore. The post, you were like, I've had enough.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that process when you have such a platform, so many followers, and as we've talked about, ruffling feathers.
Oh my gosh, I'm very good at ruffling feathers. I don't mean to be. I just want to be able to be honest. I want to be able to share what I want to share, what I feel on my page and not be attacked for it because I don't do that to other people, but I've had even relatives, combat some of my thoughts or beliefs or insult me because of my beliefs. And I'm like, I don't think of you as less of a person because of who you voted for or the way that you think. So I have taken risks with posting that stuff. I've kind of dialed it back because I've realized just how divisive it can be. And I'm not trying to contribute to that. I've only ever really wanted to learn and have conversations. But what I have found is that I am easily written off because some people just assume to know me based off of how I've voted in the past or whatever I've aligned with. And that's disappointing because some of these
But you've
people
been
have,
honest about that.
yeah,
I have been honest and I have appreciated that because you're like, hey, I used to vote this way.
yeah,
Or my views are complicated. I'm not just a sole conservative. Like so I appreciated that post because I was like, amen, sister, post it.
yeah. And I lost a dear friend because of that. I mean, or at least in result of that. I don't know. It's complicated, but what's interesting now is that even now my views and thoughts have shifted, and I don't feel like I align so much with what I've voted for, because I don't feel like it's serving me in the way that I expected it to, that feels like it was promised, like and so we should be, as human beings on either side, on the entire spectrum, we should be allowed to evolve and be given the grace that we can evolve, that, be given that like benefit of the doubt that people can change their minds, and that I'm not just restricted to this one little box because of one thing that you think I must believe all things. I don't think, I've always said this, no matter who you vote for, whether it's on local politics or the large scale presidential politics, whatever, the whole spectrum, you should never 100% align with anybody in life, whether it's a politician or even a friend. You should have independent thoughts and feelings, and you should be able to have discourse regarding those feelings and not be blocked or unfriended or just written off because of this assumption. You know what I mean? Like we just have to stop assuming about people. I believe in the best of people, and I've had, disagreements with people politically, and we still have a great friendship. One of my best friends is like a libertarian. So she's kind of a wild card. I love her so much because she teaches me so much, and we are able to have a respectful discourse. I've learned a lot from her, which has really framed the way that I think about certain things because she's taught me.
Right.
I could really go on a tangent about this, but I just feel like at the end of the day, none of us can possibly know everything. And so to act like you're so stuck with your toes, 10 toes deep in the sand about this one particular topic is very close-minded. And I think both sides kind of assume that about each other. And I wish that we could somehow eliminate that.
Like, Kelly, I just feel like you are so smart.
Oh gosh, thank you.
That is not something I've told you before, but I feel like you are so intelligent, and it's so good to hear from you, because a lot of people could just write you off as like, oh, she's that true crime girl who's just getting on.
Oh, they have. And I used to be blonde, so it was like even worse.
Right. You got a little brunette in us.
Yes.
But the thing is I appreciate it so much. You are a mama, you are a fierce advocate, and now you have a platform that people locally do not understand. Tell me about CrimeCon, because and we talked a couple of years ago that you were getting ready to go to New York City to film on some docs. Like, tell me about this journey.
Yes. Okay. So we'll start with that because that was such a cool opportunity. So I have covered over 200 cases on deep dives on my podcast. That doesn't account for anything I've covered on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. I kind of have like all these different platforms. But for the podcast, I told the story of Bianca Devins. And she was a girl from the New York area who was ultimately murdered, and her murderer took photos of her and posted them on Discord and these social channels after she was murdered. And her family really fought the social media platforms like Instagram and Discord to implement better laws to protect victims from having their photos like that shared on such a mass platform. So they actually were very effective in getting a law put in place to where if any social media platform has so many followers, they have to have so many departments in place to monitor that. So, and that is all as a result of Bianca Devins' story. So I told her story, and I have a website called mamamystery.com where people can send me messages through there. And a TV producer reached out through my website asking if I'd be interested in filming for this documentary regarding Bianca's case. They were going to showcase it in a documentary. So it's called Deadly Influence, The Social Media Murders. I am on episode 3. They did get my name completely wrong. My name is Kelly Evans, but on there I'm Kelly Rule. And some people were like, well, maybe she just wanted to hide her identity. And I was like, no, it's just a mistake. And they've asked me, like, I've had people ask me if I will ask them to change it. I'm like, no, it's not about me. It's about Bianca. So it doesn't matter. But it was such an honor to do it. They flew me out to New York City. I had never been. It was for one night, and we made the most of it. It was actually on Austin's birthday. And so we got to fly out to New York City, paid for. It was so cool. We had dinner at really cool places. We saw Central Park. We went to the top of the Empire State Building. Like, we tried to pack as much in as we could, but that was such a cool experience that came because I have this podcast. Other than, like, if it weren't for that, we would never have gotten to go. That was so cool. So New York City, that was a really cool experience. CrimeCon. I always said before I ever went to CrimeCon that I was going to go to CrimeCon and get on Podcast Row someday. And my very first CrimeCon I ever attended, I was on Podcast Row. And it happened because the true crime space, like the creators, are really so supportive of one another. So there's a podcast I love called The Prosecutors. You have to check it out. And it's basically these two prosecutors, Brian and Alice, and they discuss these cases in depth, but they are like Ivy League trained prosecutors, and they really like pick apart these cases. So anyway, great people. I reached out to them knowing they were going to be there. And I was like, hey, do you have any recommendations? Like, how can I get on Podcast Row? And they actually offered to share their table with me, which I thought was so sweet. And I was like, I'm going to pass that on someday, like that opportunity. But they also gave me the contact of the lady that kind of puts it all together. I reached out and I've been on it ever since. So we've been to Orlando and Nashville, and there was one other place. I can't remember. Oh, shoot. And we're about to go to Vegas at the end of the month.
That's crazy.
Yes.
You know, there's going to be a long line. People wanting autographs.
I need to like figure out what the autograph even is. I think it's so funny. It's a very unique experience because I have imposter syndrome so bad. I never think of myself as anyone that's really that important. But when I go to CrimeCon and people do ask for my autograph, or they like want pictures, I'm just like, you have made my entire day. Like yes. And it really is such a just a crazy, surreal experience.
I love that for you. I really do. We have to give a shout out to Brian Enton.
Oh, I love him.
Everyone does.
Yeah. How can you not?
How can you not love Brian?
And he's so sweet in person. I have pictures with him. I like, he's my friend. He doesn't even know who I am.
Well,
but
I shared with you that he was at our wedding.
Oh, that's right.
He's at our wedding.
Oh my gosh. That's so
just a reporter, like a new reporter at, in Kirksville. At KTVO.
In Kirksville. Like, what are the odds?
And then quickly went to Miami eventually. And then, of course, he's got his own thing, and he's on other networks, and it's just crazy. But Brian, shout out to you. We adore you. She's a fan.
Oh, huge fan. I have so much respect for him. When I see him at CrimeCon, I smile at him. He always smiles back, but I'm like, you're just, you are my friend, even though you don't know it. He's
the real deal.
He is so nice.
So sweet. And Brian, just thank you for advocating for so many victims.
He has been such an inspiration to me. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. When the Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito story was like really blowing up, I watched his coverage and I was so inspired by the way that he was covering it that I definitely used some of his what am I trying to say? Sorry, I got distracted.
Like the way that
I just picked up on some of the ways that he would tell stories and the depth that he would go. And I'm like, that's the kind of reporter, investigator, whatever that I want to be.
Yeah.
Or, that's the way I want to tell stories.
Just listen, he has been that way since he was covering cows in a field in Northeast Missouri. Like, he has been that way. And so it's interesting to see his reporting, because I'm like, he has not changed. And he's still so, so much further.
Yes.
The story. And
he doesn't sleep. I don't think he sleeps.
No. During the Nancy Guthrie story. I don't think he
slept. People were on there like, please buy this guy a vacation. Like, let this guy go to sleep.
People were looking, and the people were like, oh, hey, Brian, this is what Brian Enton is reporting. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I haven't talked to him in years, but
he's a big
say
deal.
hi to him in Vegas for me.
I will. If I happen to stop him, I really am going to.
I know. I'm
gonna take a picture with me so I can send it to our friend Jodie.
Yeah, that's so funny. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you about was just how you're doing it all. We've talked about the criticism and really how hard it is for maybe the closest people in our lives to be silent. And you continue to go and go and go. You have so many irons in the fire, like so many people in our community. But how do you keep it all going and keep the confidence keep showing up?
Yeah. So, like I said, my husband he is my best friend, my number one, my partner in crime and in life. And so
Busy.
he's so busy. I don't even know how he does it. If you want to ask somebody that kind of question, that should be reserved for Austin because he runs Lean Kitchen Company and Fit Republic and Chris and Kate's, the cones, and then he has rental properties. I'm like, how are you doing this? I truly don't know. And he still manages to get home at a decent time. He still manages to get runs in before that. Like he takes care of himself. Like I do not know how he does it. So you should have him on your next. But he really, I couldn't do it without him. That's for sure. And I do have very supportive friends. And true crime is a niche. And so I know that not everybody appreciates it or they might get kind of scared. So I'm never offended. Like one of my best friends, Emily, she doesn't listen to it. Her mom does. Her mom's a big fan. Love her. But Emily is like, I can't sleep at night. Or Claire, one of my other good friends, she can't listen to it. And I'm like, that's fine. I totally respect that. And I think, when it comes to feeling supported, you have to lean into your partner, lean into your faith, lean into knowing that what you're doing is for a good cause. If your heart is in the right place, then nothing should stop you. Even if those voices that come in, like they're very real. I hear them all the time. They're usually from my own head. Like I can be my biggest critic. Anyone who wants to critique me on anything, trust me, I've said it probably in a 10 times worse format. So like nobody else could really get me down as much as I can myself, but mentally like being so aware that that is problematic and then it's not really the right way to think if you want to be better. Like it just takes a lot of conscious uh, intention, awareness to like stay out of those dark places, to stay confident.
What would you say if I said to you that comparison is the thief of joy?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Yeah, I think that being happy for other people doesn't take away from your own success. I think being happy for other people and cheering other people on is, cyclical. It comes back to you. If you constantly, crap on other people or bring other people down, then that comes back to you. And I think it's important to if you want to be cheered on, if you want to feel emboldened, empowered, you have to do that for other people too. You can't always expect it if you can't even give it. And so I'm trying to be more mindful of like supporting other people and like making people feel appreciated. Because everybody needs that. Everybody needs love right now and positive stuff. I know that sounds like really flowery and stuff. But I think at a time, especially like right now, we have to give each other grace and give each other ups.
I think people would say that you're a good friend. I know that when I'm struggling, if I reach out to you, you were like there in a minute to give me a kind word.
Oh,
So
thank you.
thanks for being a friend.
Yeah, well, of course. Thank you for being a friend. You've been the same for me. And, like we are busy. There is no doubt, like moms, especially at this age, we are busy. We are either taking care of kids or jobs or moving or whatever the case may be, because right now we're moving. And so like I know that we are very busy, but I also know it's important to be there for your people because it can be very isolating, very lonely if you don't have that.
Well, you didn't need to come on my podcast with millions of followers. So I'm so glad that you did, that you took the time to be supportive.
Yes,
Thank
of
you.
course. I'm so happy I did.
I want to ask you, lastly today, tell me about what's coming up. If people follow you and they have seen your journey, what's next? What do the next 3 years look like for you?
So, you mentioned at the beginning Uncool Collective,
Yeah,
and that is something
talk about that.
I know we're gonna have to like do a part 2 or
And
something.
the Motherhood podcast and hosting, co-anchoring basically a radio show in Kansas City with so much to talk about.
I know. There is so much, but one thing that is very dear to my heart is the Uncool Collective. So this is something that I've just started, and I am gonna try to like, keep this ball rolling. But the idea is that as parents, we should be mindful of our kids being on social media or the internet. And, right now screens are all the rage. I understand that. And it can be very convenient at times, but it can be very detrimental at times. And I've seen it play out in doing true crime. I've seen the results of unfettered access to the internet and how that manifests into either dangerous situations that kids find themselves in, or behavior that is so out of character for these kids, but it's because of what they are seeing online and it's not being regulated. So I'm very, very passionate about keeping kids off of social media until at least the age of 15. And honestly, even eliminating phones, except for just maybe the most basic interactions. Like, my kids have a phone that they share that we just keep to ourselves, but it's really, we'll let them use it if they're going to a friend's house or they need to like call us for some reason. And they could text their friends, but like we absolutely will not do Snapchat. We won't do Instagram. They're not on TikTok. They're not making videos like that. Like they're not doing it. Kids deserve to have a childhood. And I feel very passionate about protecting children. It's like under the whole realm of just my goal, I guess, is to protect children from predators, from, having their childhoods taken from them in one way or another. So I'm very passionate about that. And it's really just a way to implore parents to be mindful of the access to social media and internet that their kids have and to be the uncool parent. Yeah, all my friends have phones. I'm the only one in my class who doesn't have a phone. You know how many times I've heard that? I don't care. I don't care. I tell them that I'm like, I can be the uncool parent. You will thank me later. You can hate me now. Thank me later.
I love that. Such a challenge for parents like me who've maybe already made the mistake of giving those phones too early. I can pull back at any moment.
Yeah.
So thank you for permission.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me encourage you. But yeah, I think it's just regulation, I think is what they need. Kids need structure. They thrive off of structure. So even if there's like limits or just whatever, but being more intentional about the way you let your kids use a phone, I think is so important. And we grew up where cell phones weren't even a thing until we were like getting into high school probably. And like,
But I think you grew up like me, where we desired just a little bit more of a reign on us that maybe we didn't have.
yeah.
And I do look back and think, why did my mom let me do that?
Yeah.
Did she even have any idea? And so I understand, sometimes I see my kids where they appreciate structure.
Yes.
They appreciate a limit. And I'm like,
They
"Hey,
appreciate discipline.
I wish I would have had a limit,
Right. Yeah. Cause I think at the end of the day, they know in their core, they might not be able to articulate it, but they know that it's because you love them and you're protecting them and it makes them feel safe. Even if it makes them frustrated, the root is that they feel safe and protected and cared for. And that's what our goal is as a parent.
100%. Kelly, I cannot thank you enough for being here.
I hope I can come back soon. This is so nice. It flew by. I don't even know what time it is.
I know. And for those of us, I've shared with you, I haven't listened to all your episodes. My husband is a faithful listener to you and Austin, loves Austin.
Yeah.
He thinks he is so funny.
He is.
And what the heck? All of a sudden, he's a superstar. You brought him on.
Yeah. People either love him or hate him. It's so funny because Austin is very unfiltered. What you see is what you get. Sometimes I'm like a little nervous to let him talk because I'm like, oh, geez. Sometimes I have had to edit him out. I'm like, you cannot say that. You're going to they're going to come for you. But for the most part, I think people who can be open-minded and like lighthearted enough, they appreciate his sense of humor, and know that he's coming from a good place too. He's just sometimes he says things I'm like, you're still just a kid sometimes.
Yeah. He's so funny. But I mean, the thing too is, like I said, Lee is definitely a listener. Me, not so much, but I'm so excited about the Motherload. So if you want to listen to that podcast, listen to the weekly docket, listen to all these things, where can we get more information about you?
Yes. So you can find any of my podcast episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Mama Mystery or The Motherload. That's the podcast I've had with Karen Leanne. It's on a little bit of a hiatus right now just because we're so busy, but we have every intention of getting back to it. Karen Leanne Miljavik is a comedian local. You've got to have her on here too. I'll give you her number. But she is so fun. She's so relatable. She's got a heart on fire for Jesus, and she's really trying to spread that in a way that doesn't feel kind of like ostracizing. Because I think sometimes when it comes to faith and Christianity, it can feel a little bit like, ooh, like, there's just a lot of bad feelings about it for some people. And I think she does a really good job of bridging that gap with comedy and like her own testimony. And so I really admire what she's doing. But anyway, so she and I have a podcast. You can find it anywhere. And then on socials, my name is True Crime Kelly on Facebook or True Crime Kel on TikTok and Instagram.
Okay. So I would be remiss if I didn't have this conversation with you. And we've talked about how overwhelming putting out a product like this is. quickly tell us, are you doing this by yourself or do you have a team?
I'm doing this by myself. It's crazy. I was talking to Bailey. I need to just hire some help or have someone teach me
Yeah.
how to expand in the video. I've said it so many times that I want to do that, and I'm a one woman show. But I think it's starting to 5 or 6 years in now. I'm actually starting to get some momentum where I think I could probably afford to hire some help.
Yeah.
It's just been a really slow
Yeah.
role to get to this
Yeah.
point. But I do think it would be worth it. So,
Well, you have had sponsors, which has been such a blessing.
yes, that has been so helpful getting sponsorships, and that can be kind of tricky because you don't want to get a sponsorship just for the sake of monetization. I want to actually believe in what I'm sharing so I don't lose my trust with my audience. So that can be kind of a tricky thing. And I don't want people to think I'm only in this, the cynics will say like, "Oh, you're just monetizing off of people's tragedy or whatever." And I'm like, I don't really see it that way. I can see how easily someone else could make that leap, but I promise my intentions are always good. And I have always respected families. If they want me not to talk about something, I will not. If they come to find something, they want me to correct it or take it down, I will. I am at the mercy of victims and their families always. And so anytime I'm passionate about something, I promise you it's because I have support.
Mm-hmm. Kelly, you're one of the most authentic people that I know.
Oh, thanks.
And I just thank you so much for, loving me through my hard times and my unconfident times.
Oh, you're easy to love. And I just had a talk with our friend Tiffany before this, and she was like, "You're a self-doubter. You need to love yourself more." And I'm like, "Ugh, I know you do. Austin tells me the same thing." But it can be hard, it can be hard. But
people don't realize that maybe about us. They look at us from afar and they think, oh my gosh, those girls, they're so confident, especially in our friend group. Everybody is pretty successful and beautiful in their own right. But they don't realize that, no, like, let's get real. We struggle.
Yeah.
Sometimes I joke, like, it's putting lipstick on a pig. Don't even doubt it.
Yeah.
I am not perfect.
Oh my gosh, no. And I don't think I'm perfect. I know that I make mistakes. I wish people knew that about me. If I could say one thing as far as like any kind of public persona that I have, it's that like I am a human being at the end of the day. It brings up feelings because recently I just have been feeling like misunderstood.
Yeah.
And that can be really challenging sometimes because it's like you have a complete misunderstanding of me. And I understand that it's a waste of energy to try and convince people of who you are at your core because some people are just committed to misunderstanding you. So how do you let that go? But I think it's a very human experience, and I think it's a very female experience. Because this is something I know Austin can't really relate to. Like you care very deeply.
And sometimes
And I
it's
wish
so
sometimes I
true
couldn't.
that it's like one person. It's like you have millions of followers, but it's one person's opinion that affects your day.
Yeah, that can be the loudest.
That can be the loudest. And somehow as women, we struggle. And our husbands and the men in our life, for some reason, they can't understand how personally we take it. And I think sometimes it's the most sensitive of us, who feel it the hardest or who love the hardest and who feel it.
Yes.
Because we've talked about you give and you give and you give to friendships. And people follow you from all over the world, Kelly, but it's the people that are closest to us where we feel like we give and maybe we don't get that in return.
Yeah. And that could feel very like it can feel like rejection.
Yeah.
And I do have a hard time with that. And it's something, especially lately, that I've been dealing with and trying to just work my way through it. But I do think, I really hope that this finds the right person so that they know they're not alone and that like these are not unique feelings. These are actually pretty universal feelings, and if we can make people aware of that, then they feel less alone. And then maybe they feel empowered to go reach out to a friend or just, I don't know.
Well, and make a difference. Like, there's something within us, right, that has caused us to try to step out of our very unconfident selves to try to make a difference. And if it does encourage one person today, I would say, like, please be encouraged that, just because you're not perfect doesn't mean that you're not capable of serving your community or serving a cause
Yeah.
that's important to you. And we put ourselves out there, and sometimes the love isn't there. Sometimes we're misunderstood. Sometimes the comments are negative. And like, I don't know. I'd just say screw it. Like,
Yeah, I have like, ebbs and flows where sometimes I'm like, I don't give a crap what these people are saying. I'm trying really hard not to cuss. I don't know what kind of podcast this is, but I'm like really trying to keep it in check.
fans are counted.
I don't know what that means.
That means we are our local conservative audience, right?
Okay, so they're probably fine. Yeah, sometimes I feel like the most confident girl, and then sometimes I'm like, who hates me now? Like, I'm just constantly like, it usually correlates with my luteal phase. I'm learning. Yeah. We talk about luteal phases all the time in my house. I'm like, no, she's on her luteal phase. Just give her a break.
Moody.
Don't anger it.
It's the Moody app to track it.
No, but I mean, I should. My husband is like, he knows me and my cycle better than I do it. And he doesn't even have to track it. He's like, what is the date? Yeah, you're about 2 weeks out. This is right on course. And I'm like, I hate that you know me so well.
Which is that's a whole other topic that we could talk about.
Yes.
It's just how we are just labeled in some ways. Like, oh, here we go. I'm trying to teach my young son that actually PMS is a real thing, buddy. And so is perimenopause. So don't even get me started. Like, I'm going to learn today. I'm 16. Do not. He's like, is PMS really a thing? Like TikTok. I'm like, don't even. But I just want to encourage you, because you giving a kind word, an unsolicited kind word, has meant so much to me. And I hope that we as a community can continue to do that. Give a kind word. It doesn't take but a second to reach out to a friend and be like, I'm thinking of you. I love you. I adore you.
Yeah. Even a stranger at the supermarket. Like I had a lady come through, Chris and Kate's, and she had the most beautiful smile. And so I just told her, like, you have a really beautiful smile. And I'm sure that it carried on with her, but I really meant it. She had a beautiful smile. Just say that. If you think it, say it. If it's positive, just say it. We need that. We need more of that.
Kelly, you're paying it forward with all the work that you do. And I just really appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. Yeah. And you too, for doing stuff like this and, putting this out into the community. I think it's very meaningful.
Well, I really do feel like this is where change is made.
Mm-hmm.
The things that we discuss locally, they are talked about in Jeff City. That's where change happens. That really affects us. Or if we're talking about school district stuff, like, it affects our kids.
Yeah.
And so real change happens with local news. And I mean, I feel like you're doing it, and you're doing it on a national level too. So
thank you.
Thanks for being here.
So that was today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time.